Hello YouTubers. I just thought I'd do a quick little video on one of the some of the tools I use to figure out the track times that the car runs, especially when you're dealing with above sea level DA. You know, it's always nice to do the correction factor for it, and kind of see what the car would have ran at sea level. I mean, yeah, you're gonna get those good days where it's below sea level, and you know one thing I found out from, especially running this car, not so much my when I had the EcoBoost because it was turbocharged, but usually anything about plus or minus 700, you know, above and below sea level is where you start getting a major change in your performance numbers. You know, that's where you start losing or gaining. But really, I mean, like the 1197 at 116 that I ran with the car on the stock 245s, density that day was only like minus 200 to minus 300 at most. So it really wasn't enough to affect the performance of the car. But anyway, I'm going to show you how I do the correction factor, the tools I use to do the correction. You know, the first one, the one I used for the calculator I used to do the correction factors is it's over on dragtimes.com. If you go to tools, yeah, this will be the home page. You go to tools, and they've got horsepower calculator, torque calculator, the density, altitude, gear ratio. The horsepower calculator is interesting if you have the weight of the car, if you actually know what the weight is. I usually just kind of take a stab at the car. I mean, stab at it, and it's not really, because I haven't weighed the car, so I don't actually know. The main one I use is this density calculator, and come on, you go over and click select track. And last time I went to track was Friday, was a week ago. I was at Gainesville. Good thing about this versus air density online is you can actually go back and pull up previous data. You know, they actually have a table. They have it saved in a database. You know, it gives you basically it gives you a 24-hour table broken down by every hour. One thing I have noticed is their DA information there tends to be a little more conservative than Air Density Online. I use the Air Density Online app on my phone just to check it. I mean, it updates every hour from the National Weather Service, so it tends to be a little more accurate. Drag times tends to be, like I said, a little more conservative. I mean, this one's going to be this will be a perfect example. I mean, I made the runs right around 8 o'clock. And you scroll down, it says the air density was 1,081 feet. And the Air Density Online said that it was actually right around 1,400. I mean, one thing that they say the humidity was 36%. No, there was rain in the area, so the humidity was a lot higher than that. I think we were probably approaching 45–50%. And there was a lot of humidity in the air. It wasn't raining at the track until about 10 o'clock, but we had a couple storms pass by on either side, so there was humidity in the air. But you know, and Air Density Online said it was about 1,400, give or take a little. So I'll use that for the actual density altitude. You know, the first pass was at 12,073. Put that in. Let's see, 115.02. And you hit correct, and it will run the correction factor for you. That pass would have been And they have they have a breakdown. They have three categories: stock and mildly modified, naturally aspirated, extensively modified, naturally aspirated, and extensively modified, supercharged, and turbocharged. Which that one, I think that leans more towards factory turbo and supercharged cars. They aren't as affected by air density as naturally aspirated, so it tends to not correct them quite as much. I mean, you can see 1207 corrected to a 1201, and that was 1400 foot DA, where it was a 1207 for the Scat Pack would have been 1180, basically 1189 at 100 and almost 117. That would have been at sea level. So, like I said, there again, about every 700, 750 feet, you get a drop off, and you can see 1189 to a 1207. That's almost 2/10. About a tenth for every 700 feet, 750 feet, and 116.8. Actual trap is 115. So you're about between 3/4 and 1 mile per hour per 700 feet of altitude change. Like I said, the other tool I use, it just gives you an idea of one of the tools that I actually use. The other one is Air Density Online. Click on Free Weather for Tracks. Click on Drag Strips, and then you can pull up, if your track reports the weather in, and they have a pretty extensive list. Let's go look at Gainesville currently. Let's see, the last update was at 1:53 a.m. It is currently 2:37, so the data is less than an hour old. 1,093 feet basically. The thing I like about this is it gives you an uncorrected and corrected barometer, your dew point, your saturation pressure, your vapor pressure, your actual water grains. And then it actually gives you data about the track. The other thing that I like about this is, especially when you're planning on a track outing, if you're wondering what the air density is going to be like, you can click on forecasted data, and it will actually give you a forecasted, weather forecast with the air density and the density altitude for basically almost 24 hours ahead. I mean, I'd say they were going to run test and tune tomorrow night. And this gives you an idea of what we're dealing with, and we're starting to deal with here in the south, here in Florida. The swamp air has returned. 8 o'clock at night and it's 2,100 feet. That's like racing at almost a half mile in the air. But yeah, these are just two of the tools I use. I mean, it's handy to be able, so you can actually figure out what the car would have run in better weather. You can kind of guesstimate, and it's good because then it takes away the real guesswork on if you did something to the car, but the air density is worse. You can correct it back to, gives you a set point to go from. I'm going to put that to use. Now, one thing, I have a Mopar cold air intake kit coming. I'm going to modify it a little bit to cut down on some of the heat intrusion that a few other people have had issues with. The fact I have the Hellcat headlight duct, I'm going to modify the Mopar box so that so I can seal it up so that it's actually drawing air from the front of the car, just like the Hellcat lower air box does. And I'm also going to seal it. There's a cutout at the top edge on the radiator core support side. I'm going to modify that so I can seal it up so that it's sealed against the hood and it's not getting air intrusion, hot air intrusion from the fans, the radiator fans when they turn on. I'll try to seal it as best I can and see just how much of a temperature difference or air intake temperature difference there is between that one and the Hellcat. That's what I'm really curious about. You know, it has some big shoes to fill because I've run some really good times with the Hellcat Airbox, and so I have a lot of other people. But then our people have run good times with the unmodified Mopar cold air intakes. So I'm hoping the tweaks I can do will actually pay off, and having a larger filter will most definitely help because there's not going to be any flow restriction there. But anyway, just thought I'd do. I'm testing out a new external microphone. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. I heard a little feedback in one of the other videos I did with it, so kind of curious how this will work. You know, if it's squeaky or has scratchy video, please excuse it. Like I said, trying a new microphone. We have to order another one, try a few different ones to see which one works best. But that's all I have for you for now. Thanks very much for watching, and you guys stay safe out there. Take it easy, and I will catch you in the next video. Have a great day.